Hi, my name is Bernard from English OTP, and today we're going to be talking about a new topic from Crooked Letter. This is a video in the series on Crooked Letter, and before we've discussed the basics of Crooked Letter, and also I gave you an overview and introduction into the topics that I find essential in the novel. So I'm going to post a link in the description for the two other videos on the novel so far, and you can go and check those out. You can also just click on the channel, and I don't think they're essential to watch them to understand this video, but I think it's definitely a help sort of to get an overview of the whole thing, whether you've read it or not, and that's going to be very helpful. I'm just going to give you a quick run through of where we are at the moment. So we started out with the basics, then we jumped right into the topics. We talked about how topics are discussed in literature in general. Then I gave you an overview of the topics, and today we're going to talk about responsibility in Crooked Letter. I think this is one of the key topics, of course, that's why I listed it first. When we talk about responsibility in Crooked Letter, there's actually a lot of different sub-threads on the topic. The first and most obvious question about responsibility is, of course, who's responsible for the crimes? Well, we know that this is a crime novel, obviously, so this is naturally the most basic question that a crime novel asks. And at the same time, this is already where it gets complicated, because normal crime novel, you have a crime on the one hand, you have a police officer on the other hand, and the police officer tries to uncover the injustice, and that's what Silas obviously does in Crooked Letter. This is his job. So he wants to uncover the justice, he wants to clear up the crime, he wants to capture the criminal, and it should be relatively easy, right? But it isn't. Of course, we have two different disappearances, and this is what the whole novel revolves around, what drives the plot, the two disappearances. This is also what I talk about in the basics video. And the second disappearance, the Rutherford girl, this is of course something that Silas is investigating. He's a police officer by then, and we know that he tries his best to find out who's responsible for the disappearance and what happened to Tina Rutherford. But on the other hand, and this is where it gets problematic, we have the first disappearance. This is where it all started out, we could say. The novel, at least, where the novel started out. And that's the disappearance of Cindy. And the problem here is that Silas, although he has become a police officer and is a police officer now, actually could have given a statement about the disappearance of Cindy that would have helped the police greatly. So it would help the police to ask the right questions and maybe make an arrest and find Cindy, well, at least maybe find her body. So although Silas is the police officer and partly does his job, we also have the problem that he is not responsible for clearing up the first crime. He sort of shies away from his responsibility there. Okay, so that's the first question. Although it's basic, it's already getting complicated. The second question is whether Silas is responsible for Larry's social ostracism. And of course, it's easy to say that he is, to some extent, responsible for Larry's ostracism. We know that Larry is a nerdy guy, even when he's young, so he likes to read horror stories by Stephen King. He's nerdy in other respects as well, so he knows a lot about nature, he knows a lot about animals, he enjoys talking about what he knows, and that's always strange. If you know stuff and you tell other kids about it, then they will always think you're a nerd. And then he has this other part of him that he's not strong, he's physically weak, he doesn't do sports very well. And this leads to the fact that he has no friends. So even when he's at school, he goes to a school which is, there are mainly black kids at the school, but even the white kids, they don't really mix with him. So he is socially ostracized to some extent, even when he's younger. But we have, again, this disappearance of Cindy, which accelerates everything in the plot. So it speeds up Larry's ostracism, it catapults it into a whole new dimension. After the disappearance of Cindy, most people are sure that Larry has something to do with it. I mean, he's always been an oddball, the odd kid, so why shouldn't he? So it fits very well. So people say it must have been Larry. So it goes downhill with his family as well. And his father dies, his mother goes into a home, and then his mother is the only person he regularly has contact with. We know that he has no customers in his automobile shop, and he has no friends until Wallace comes along. So, and if we talk about Silas's responsibility for this, Silas, unfortunately, very late in the novel, he understands that letting himself off the hook has been his way of life. And I think this is one of the most central quotes in the novel, because it reflects the character of Silas. And the character of Silas very much is the driving force in this novel. So this is in chapter 14 in my edition of the book. It's on page 224. So if you want to check that out, go to chapter 14 and really mark this quote. So I'm going to say it again. Letting himself off the hook had been his way of life. He realizes that he has shied away and run away from responsibility all his life. Like the responsibility he has towards his mother, the responsibility he has towards Larry, and the responsibility he has by the actions that he takes. So go back to that quote, read around it, read how he finally realizes what he's done and how this changes the whole novel or the way into which the novel is going. The last part I want to discuss is whether Wallace is a product of his surroundings compared to the other two parts of responsibility. That, of course, is a very minor question. But I think the novel deals with this question very beautifully and in what Wallace actually says by himself. So we have a passage in chapter 9 where Wallace talks about the dogs he has owned. So chapter 9, in my version, page 160. And I would say the dogs are a reflection of Wallace and his social milieu, right? So White Trash Ave, the way he's grown up, we know that he's been wandering around. I mean, he pops up in Larry's barn at some time, and we know from Larry that Wallace is constantly popping up in his property, which we know is very remote. So we know that he strays around a lot, and this is exactly what we can see in the way he talks about the dogs that he has owned. They're all strays, so they come to him from other owners, or he finds them, so they don't really have a proper home, and they are not well trained. We know that. So I mean, the last dog he's had, this very ferocious dog, goes out at night to kill animals just because it's mean. It's the way it was raised, and that's sort of the same for the other dogs as well. They're untrained, they die strange deaths, and they are sort of, all of them are, as I said, strays, and all of them are in one or other way socially awkward, not as a real and good dog should be. And I think that reflects Wallace to a large extent, right? He's never had this proper home as a child should have, and he's not well educated. So if we talk about Wallace and in how far he can be responsible for what he does, then of course there is this question whether Wallace is a product of his surroundings or not. And I would say to a large extent he is. Okay, that was the video today on responsibility, our 3 questions, and I mean, we could discuss about this endlessly. If you have some comments on what I've said, if you disagree with what I've said, you're welcome to post a comment down below. Maybe also tell me about a quote that you found that doesn't go well with what I said, that maybe contradicts it. I'd love that. So there is no, as far as I know, no community where we can discuss this book in an educational setting. So if you want to use the comments, that'd be great. I'm definitely going to get back to you. So drop me a line down below. Check out the other videos. Give this video a like if you want. And also subscribe to the channel if you want. I've had more subscriptions in the last couple of days, and that's been encouraging. It's sort of encouraged me to do some more of those videos. And yeah, have a great day and see you in the next video.